No, recycling is a rather complex issue, and we heard so much about manpower, we talk about automations and things like that. Maybe I give my personal views. In fact, Japan Kitakyushu, we all know Japan Kitakyushu has been known as the model of the recycling town. Right? And I went there, actually I went there a few times, and I saw the recycling plant. In fact, when I visited Germany, I find that, pardon me if I say that, I find the Japanese plant actually more automated, even more high-tech compared to Germany plant. They have this TV recycling, and the way it's like a conveyor belt system, although there are people working on it, they smash it, and then they tear it apart, right? And then different parts will go to different stations, and then there are 1 or 2 people working on it. Right? So it gives me the feeling of, well, Kitakyushu has done it very well. And it's not just a plant, it's the whole eco-recycling town. They call it eco-town. There are 3 eco-towns in Japan, including Sendai, right? And they work it out. And not just that, we were also told that the recycling is done by the community concept. So they have different community in Kitakyushu. What the local government does is just give them a framework, provide the incentive, and then the community just take it up themselves to do all the recycling, and they feel very much wanting to do the recycling job. And now, the questions about cost, we mentioned a lot about cost. It doesn't pay, it's costly. If you really want to do a recycling, the recycled material must have of certain price, it must be wanted, must be needed, otherwise the business model cannot go. But again, there's also this different school of thought about the environmental impact. If you don't recycle, we burn. Although you can recover some energies, but it's actually the CO2 emissions issue. If we don't burn, we bury, we have the landfill issues. So if we include, and I think we have professors in NTU, Professor Houston Kwa working on the externality of those impacts. If you put in all those costs, the cost may be even higher if you don't do it. So my question is, I know EU has gone through the recycling phase. You have talked about 50%, 70% is good to have, but they now want to even up it to a higher hierarchy. They're talking about not generating waste anymore. And what EU did to us seems like they put in a lot of directives, e-waste directive, recycling directive, waste prevention program, this directive. It's a very hardliner kind of approach. And here in Japan, we find that they somehow, yes, they actually do subsidies, but they have a bit of incentive nudgings. So in this aspect, what do 2 of you think about? Maybe we can adopt a very different approach. Of course, in EU, maybe it's difficult. We have very advanced country doing very well. They are rich, they can put in automations. We have less advanced country, not as rich country, maybe they have problem. But can we adopt a different approach? And maybe some approaches may work compared to what we are doing now and the problem that we are facing because of the approach that we adopted. What would be your view? Go for it, yeah.
I think for us to increase the recycling rate is to increase the disposal fee. When the fees are higher, the recycling rate will increase. I think the PwC has been echoing to the agencies, but somehow I think our rates are not increasing. Maybe next year, 2016, 2017, there's a
So you think still a business model issue?
Yes.
There's no way we can inspire people to recycle.
Very difficult.
Because we have to live within the limit of our planet, for example. That is actually the visions of Europe. But
this is the moment where you want to walk off stage and hide away in a room at the back there and think about it for half an hour before answering. Well, I don't have half an hour to answer, but oh my God, where to start? Again, there's many Europes. The Japan model, you've seen the recycling town. Okay, there are many, many recycling towns in Europe which have very virtuous models as well. You cited Japan versus Germany. Germany is now rushing very quickly towards obsolescence in waste management because it started so early. Germany is very overcapacitized in its whole incineration plants. and is very undercapacitized in its organic recycling. Its whole policy now is to go towards more organic recycling. That will mean more anaerobic digestion plants, it will mean more composting plants, and it will mean shutting down some of those incineration plants. So the German model was a good model to look at in the 1990s and the early part of the 2000s, but now has become a model which is looking very outdated and very, very expensive. Germans spend up to €300 per year per person. €300. What is that? 600 Singapore dollars per person. So now, imagine what it is in a family of 4 or 5 people per year for their waste management system. So we're looking at a system which is outdated, which is heavyweight, which is very costly. Some of the more nimble, some of the newer systems, the City of Milan, I always like to quote because I was one of the people instrumental in changing the waste policy of the City of Milan. 1.3 million people, 55% recycling. It's gone up from 30% in 1 year by organics collection. So door-to-door collection, twice a week of organics. Compostable, taken into anaerobic digestion and composting. And with 96% purity, very, very, very good. And high-rise buildings, low-rise buildings, a whole mixture of very, very densely occupied urban context, which is similar in some respects to Singapore. Now that's not about technology, that's about collection systems. Okay? And whereas I think that the Japanese model is very, very much more about the technology. Okay? Melissa is right. The waste is a very, very labor-intensive, waste collection is a very, very labor-intensive model, and some of the cities in Europe have gone to even more labor-intensive models and less capital expenditure models because they have high unemployment. Many European countries, for example Italy, Milan, have 10, 12, 15% unemployment, and therefore it makes social sense to go to a more labor-intensive model rather than a more capital expensive model. Complete contrast to what's happening in Singapore today.
Okay, maybe I repeat the questions in a different manner. Now, we know that Singapore push for recycling up to 70%, right? You keep on lamenting that no, its business model is not right, and we guess the culture is not here, right? Because the money is not there, right? Okay, now, when I was in NEA for the past 10 years, I see how the recycling rate actually creeping up. 50 something, 63, now in the 230 vision. We already stated down in the 230 vision is 70%. Right? And the way we work, I think some of the colleagues here actually will crack their head to look at the incentive, the policy, the directive, and whatnot. But again, one of the very important aspects is working with industry and industry associations. Right. So if you really think that we want to push for the kind of recycling, like I said, that maybe this is the way for Singapore. We have to, because seriously, we have the landfill issue. We only have about 700 square kilometers. Our Singapore landfill, the phase 2 started already, but it will last us to 2035. After that, we have no landfill whatsoever to treat your waste, to bury your waste. Right? So that is a very important issue to Singapore. Now, what would be your view to say that, okay, having understood the issues, the difficulty that we face in recycling, what would you do now? Let's say as a chairman, of the World Rust Association, there's something that you want to do within our industry, there's something that you want government to do with the muscle to flex, and what are those things that in your mind?
I think it's a tripartite arrangement between NEA, the association who is representing the industries, as well as the public, which is the generators. What the government can do is, as you said, crack your head, you come out with policies, you can come out with incentives, grants, and all this to assist